please tell me I'm not the only one that has been reading Omniscient Reader, because, like, these chapters, chapter, like, 164, 165, and then obviously the latest chapter, 166, has been just outright incredible. Like, the story and what's happening right now, it's leading into such an interesting direction. I honestly just wanted to make a video talking about it, because it's like, the content that we got. Like, let's backtrack to chapter 164, okay? Like, we had this whole revelation with the fourth wall, and FYI, I think anyone that's obviously read this far knows the fourth wall is the skill that has always helped our main character. It's always had his back, it's always saved him, it's always helped his mental state, him being able to overcome things. It's this skill that has literally been with him since the very beginning of the story. But then, this chapter 164, came out a few weeks back, and it gives a revelation, a startling revelation, that the fourth wall has its own, I guess, personality, because it consumed the entity that our MC was fighting, Nirvana, and then, after he starts to look at it, he's like, wait a minute, it has a personality, because literally it smiles, and then he starts to wonder if the fourth wall would eventually come after him as well, and you just see this distortion going on with this image here, and he starts to wonder, what exactly is the fourth wall? What is this entity that has been helping me out? And he starts to ask this very important question, because what makes this fascinating is that the fourth wall wasn't in the original story. Like, anyone that obviously is aware of Omniscient Reader and kind of like what happened and why the world is like it is that, our MC, got the privilege of this skill to be able to, pretty much, like, navigate through the different, like, story arcs, because he knows what's going to happen, because he read the original story. And the fourth wall, from our understanding, was never in the original world that, he read as just a regular novel. And now that he's in this world, and this fourth wall is helping him, he's like, wait a minute, what really is this thing that is actually helping me, and will it eventually become my enemy? And, like, you have the fourth wall literally talk with him that says, at that moment, that this thought ran through his head. What if I end up being consumed by this wall someday as well? And I think that this is a very powerful moment, because one thing that this kind of represents is that our MC is in a story. Obviously, this does break the fourth wall. This is kind of symbolic, because obviously we know this is a series that we're reading, and it breaks the wall, saying, like, yeah, he's also a character within the story. But within the story, it lets us know that he is actually, becoming a part of the world. He is a character of a story, and that he is technically written on a sheet of paper. And this might make him start wondering or questioning his overall role in life. Like, is he actually a character that's just been written already, and someone's reading his story in a different world or something? There's many ways to really look at this, and I feel like this is going to open up a lot to his character, and make him question, does he really think he knows everything? Does he really know everything about this world? Or has he also just been on a predetermined path because of fate and just the offer of this story? A lot of things. And like I said, I like the multi-layered nature of that, because it plays in with the very aspect of what a fourth wall is, breaking the fourth wall and reminding the audience that it's actually a story, letting us know, so to speak. But moving on, we need to talk about the upcoming chapters after that, chapter 165 and 166. 165 is really fascinating, because with the ending of chapter 164, pretty much the MC, he dies. He straight up dies, and he's getting buried. Everybody is sad, and the reason why he died is because he sacrificed himself, and it was the only way to be able to overcome this, trial that was going on right now, like this quest objective, was for him to die. And from everybody's perspective, he's not going to be able to come back. This is the end of him. And he's on a cooldown, a charge, so to speak, before he can actually come back. And everybody obviously assumes he's dead, and he's just sitting here in his spirit form, just watching and all that, and, like, he has an actual timer, of 8 lives, but, there is he has to wait, like, a whole 24 hours just to be able to resurrect, and so this could cause, obviously, issues if he's never really talked about it, and obviously, everyone's pretty much unaware of this, so everybody's pretty much like, oh, we just lost, like, our most powerful entity that sacrificed himself to overcome this, and, he's been so good to all of us, and it's a pretty interesting moment, seeing kind of how everybody would, react if they thought he was dead. And I feel like this is a very big character building moment as well, because it's like, think about this. with any story, and I feel like anyone that wonders, how would someone react to a certain person dying, like within a story? Like, if like this very powerful character just straight up dies, how would everybody react? Would they be sad? Or would there be some animosity and anger? Would there be, hidden intentions revealed and come and bubble to the surface that shows that they never really liked that entity or that person to begin with? There's a lot of things that you can kind of take away from thinking a person is dead, and it does lead to that. And this very segment here kind of presents that, how much of an effect the MC has had on everybody throughout this story, and that they really do care about him. He's not someone that they could just throw away, and I guess that really does build up in his emotions, letting him realize, like, I am pretty important to this group. But also, we get a little bit more than just that. We also get the technical main protagonist that was supposed to be of this world that actually gets emotional as well, thinking that, kind of like his best friend at this point in time is dead, and he gets really upset and angry. Like, he curls up his fist and all that, and you see, like, veins pop out, as you can see here. It's very clear that, he's very upset because he doesn't want him to die, especially after the whole pep talk that's been going on within the story, where he's like, oh, you don't need to just throw your life away because, this is a bad route or a bad ending. You need to give this, life everything you got. Don't just regress. I think that everything about this is pretty cool, and he's obviously trying to say, like, oh, you would say these, honey words, so to speak, but then you just throw your life away. He's obviously incredibly angry about that whole aspect. But let's get into the actual big thing. So after all of this happens, the latest chapter, which is what really drew me to want to make this video, this happens. Chapter 166 basically has it to where the main character is been invited to a banquet to where all the constellations are at and having a party. And FYI, at this point in time, constellations are these entities that are incredibly powerful and have fabled stories. They could be stuff like, let's say, anything from Greek myth to Norse mythology, something from, let's just say, Hindu. It can just be something like a story of a samurai. It can be anything, so to speak. And constellations are just people that have very famous stories throughout history. And being invited to a banquet like this is quite the privilege, especially for someone that's just basically, a part of a game show, so to speak. Someone that is, at the whims of the star stream. And seeing this man, finally here, it's like, we're about to learn a lot about the world. There's going to be a lot of world building, because we're going to get to meet a lot of characters, get to see the designs and faces of people that have been kind of interacting with the MC since the very beginning just through text, and we'll finally see what they really do look like within this series. And the first one we actually get to see when he's about to be denied passage inside, we get to see this man right here, the actual golden glitter, the man with golden glitter hair, the prisoner of the smallest prison. This man, he's just, oh my goodness, look at his design. He looks so cool, like legitimately a really cool design. And if this is what we can expect, I can't wait. Like, I legit can't wait to see kind of like what other characters look like and stuff that we have seen, like the plotter and all that. I really want to see it. But, so, basically right now, he's having to figure out what he wants to do. Whose, story does he want to succeed? Whose constellation does he want to join? He's in a very difficult spot. He's always been a freelancer, someone that's been a loner since the very beginning. Like, he's had help from people around him, but he's never actually gotten help from constellations. Like, he's never signed a contract with them to where he's indebted to them and he has to serve them. But as the series continues to itch along and we get more and more chapters that come out, that, door is getting closer to where he really does have to choose someone to basically be his constellation, or he's going to be shut out from everything. And that day is coming very quickly. And this arc is basically presenting that he's going to have to decide who does he want to be his constellation? Whose story does he want to follow and succeed? There's so many things about that, and I am legitimately curious, because there is quite a few theories I have, honestly. The way the direction the story could go, and this is me just reading this, I know there's a novel on this, so I believe the novel is actually already finished, so I don't know if I'm correct or not with this assumption, but my theory is that he's going to eventually become a constellation. That is my That's what I think is going to happen. Because with this man and his journey, what he knows about the star stream and all that, I feel like that's going to happen. But I'm curious if he would be able to become a constellation if he served a constellation. I am curious about that. I mean, I guess in a way he might be able to. Like, let's say he joined Olympus and all that. He might be able to become a fabled story within Olympus. That's a possibility. I don't know. But there's a lot that's been happening with Omniscient Reader. A really interesting story right now, a lot of progression, and easily one of my favorite series to read weekly. I mean, I would put this in like my top 3 favorite things to read weekly. That's including manga. I have really enjoyed this story. If you want something good to read, really start Omniscient Reader. It's good. So I'll leave a link to this series in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. If you do click on it, it does help me out a lot. For transparency's sake, I would greatly appreciate it. But be safe, stay healthy, guys. I love you. Chibi out.